We're not. Look, we're gonna keep going. We're not gonna keep talking about this game, Mike.
How do you know?
We were on earlier. I said it was a little appetizer with Bedard, but we're gonna keep going. We're gonna get Taylor coming out of the locker room in Buffalo, and we're jacked up. Like I said, we're still, if you're
pumped up, jacked up, fired up, Pete Carroll edition, baby. That's a big win, John.
We're jacked and pumped. And again, I tweeted this at a certain point because I always maybe I'm trying to protect my my keep my emotions in check over it. Because again, you know me, I'm an over the moon with Drake Maye sort of I'm like, why doesn't everybody understand how good he is? Even when the success isn't there. I'm like, he's doing so many things at such a high level. Doesn't everybody see it? I'm not, obviously people see it, but nationally you'd get narratives like, well, he hasn't won the big one and this and that. And it's like, I tweeted right beforehand, again, probably to protect myself for what I felt was going to be an inevitable heart-wrenching loss I think he passed the test. Whether they win or lose, he passed the test. National TV did everything right, went blow for blow with the best player in football. And anybody watching the game, even Chris Collinsworth, who tried all game long, I love the NBC narratives. I've decided I'm going to tell the world why Drake Maye is not Josh Allen yet. And that was it. He wanted that so bad. And then in the second half, Drake Maye was the best quarterback on the planet and had the ball in his hands with a chance to drive down the field and beat the Bills in Buffalo, and he did it. And I don't know what else you ask for at this point, Mike. I mean, it was insane that this is how this game went, because normally they don't go this way. You build it up as this duel, and as the first half was crap, and then it lived up to it. It was amazing.
There's so many angles to how this thing came together, right? Because obviously Drake Maye is the big one here. Quarterback, prime time, game-winning drive. He gets it, all that. He has that second half where he goes 13 of 14 for the 186 yards and brings them on what was a game-winning drive. But then you have Andy Borregales, who was tough at the beginning of the season, as we all know. I asked Mike Vrabel, why did you go with him instead of Parker Romo? You had the Stefon Diggs angle back in Buffalo. He goes, 10 for 146. Rhamondre Stevenson fumbles on their second drive of the game, and everybody's freaking out on why he's getting back into the game. But it just kept coming back to Drake Maye and his ability to play football at the highest level, at the highest moments, not just in primetime, not just in Buffalo, not just against the best team in the AFC, but down in the last 2 minutes to drive them down and end up putting in the position to get the game-winning field goal. So it was an incredible performance from the quarterback. You mentioned the Chris Collinsworth angle, and I like how the whole thing was kind of bookended by, if you want to be the man, you got to beat the man, right? And he started the entire broadcast with, well, like you said, let's not get carried away here because you got to beat Josh Allen if you want to beat him. And then he closed it out with the same line. He was like, well, you just beat the man. So it really was like a dovetailed performance with that. Drake was outstanding. Especially in the second half, even in the first half, it was up and down, and they had, he missed Hunter Henry high. He looked to get a little bit of happy feet at first with the offensive line in front of him, but man, did he settle down in that second half and make things happen. And he was the reason they won this game, and now they sit at 3-2.
100%. And again, the first half, credit the Bills, but again, both sides were shaky. As uncomfortable as Drake Maye looked, I think we were making a bigger deal out of that because the Bills were so uncharacteristically sloppy that they were giving you opportunities that you felt you needed to capitalize on if you were going to win this game, and you weren't. And at that point, you just didn't feel good about your chances. But Maye looked unsettled, and I don't know if he was jacked up or not, or they were disguising coverages and he just didn't like what he was seeing, or he was just trying really hard to not force it and was like, I'll just take the sack rather than make the bad play. Whatever it was, he definitely loosened up a ton, and he was seeing everything great. But I mean, we've seen the high efficiency from Drake Maye, but he hasn't been slinging it, so to speak. Tonight was a different vibe. Like he made a series of ridiculous throws and plays that only a few people make. And that's the kind of stuff that separates the best quarterbacks from pretty good quarterbacks or quarterbacks that have good receivers or good blocking or good coaching. Take Mac Jones. Mac Jones has great stats if you break down his game, you'll probably see a lot of first read throws, a lot of stuff that was schemed open and this and that. Like Drake Maye made these plays, a lot of these plays, terrific throws. There, a lot of them rolling out to his right. I mean, to be able to layer passes the way he was and to throw with such touch on the move to the sideline there. And then again, the signature play, it might not quite be the Tennessee play from last. Was it Tennessee, the miracle?
Yeah, the miracle when they forced overtime and then lost.
It might not quite be that, but that avoiding the sack where he's getting pulled down with one hand there to make something out of that play, that was a huge play. And I'm going to say slightly reminiscent. I'm going to go back to the 2001 Super Bowl when the Patriots get the ball back with 90 seconds to play. And Brady just avoids a teeny sack there, slips it, and slides it to J.R. Redmond, who gets positive yardage. If that doesn't happen, the drive doesn't happen and the Super Bowl doesn't happen. That's what that conjured in my head. What a friggin' play. And then, then he hits the honey hole shot down the field. That was pass to Troy Brown that got them to about the 40. And then the next Rhamondre Stevenson run was the pass to Wiggy that gets you into field goal range. And then the rest is just don't F it up and let your kicker do it. And
I love to see, this is how I know you're excited, is when you're comparing Drake Maye's first game-winning drive, the only thing we have on record with him as a game-winning drive, to Tom Brady's first Super Bowl game-winning drive. That's when you know Xanis is damn excited. But
I mean but there were little elements of it, and I was like that, all of those plays, but that play was spectacular because again, most people just get pulled to the ground there,
And I see it too, and I see the resemblance though, because like when you're watching that Super Bowl, and again you watch it over a million times, you hear Summerall and Madden being like, play for overtime, don't try it, don't force it, and Brady does. He dinks it, he dunks it. It's like, are they really gonna do it? Time's going down. They're kind of being too careful, and then all of a sudden, you said they hit the play to Brown. All of a sudden, Maye hits the honey hole shot to Kayshon Boutte. They end up in range, and even at that point, it's like I was kind of expecting them to be a little bit more aggressive there and not just run the football in and only trust a 52-yard field goal for Borregales, or, only get to 52 at that. They would try and give themselves a little bit more room for error, if you will, and get closer to the goal line. But they trusted him from there, and he was nails. But just
I don't, with kickers these days, Mike, I don't see a huge difference between 45 and 55.
Yeah, I guess
they're just bombing them. I think the key was there because I was getting a lot of texts on that. Personally, I think it was just, I'm leaving Josh Allen 20 seconds to do damage, and that's it. We're going to win it here, or he's got 20 seconds to beat me. That's it. So that's what they were living with there. They were not going to throw a pass there and risk stopping the clock and give Allen a minute, because in a minute he was going to score.
It's one of those things where, you do your pregame warm-ups. The kicker tells you where he's good from. He says
would have been good from 75.
He said, he would have been, but he tells you 52, and Vrabel says, okay, 52, that's all we need, and that's what they did. And like you said, they ran down the clock enough to not let Allen have some room on the other side to tie it up again, or actually what it would have been was take the lead, given it was 20-20. But no, I mean, those second half throws from Drake, man, though, like there were so many throughout the game, even where not just second half, right? The touch play to Hunter Henry, where it was also a great catch, but he did layer it in there. Early in the first half, he hit Stefon Diggs kind of toward the ground, and it looks like a crummy throw on the broadcast angle, but then when they show the end zone, it's like, no, he knew he was going that way, and that's where only Diggs could get it, and he read it right. The only miscommunication those two had on the day was, I think it was a third down throw, and he threw a slant a little bit behind him because they thought he was going to sit.
He was going to sit.
Looks like a rough read from Diggs on it, but again, who knows? Maybe Drake was wrong. That being said,
well, if he leads him, he gets killed. So he thought he should either sit or he threw back shoulder, and he said, "Make the tough catch because I don't want you to die." But I think he put the ball where he wanted on that throw.
Agreed. So that was the only miscommunication I saw from those two guys. But the thing that tells me it's the quarterback and not the guys around him. No offense to Stefon Diggs, who was great, was that he hits the throw to Diggs, the one on the sideline that sets up the touchdown. Then he hits Diggs again when he's rolling right and kind of on the third down that was right on the sideline, not the one that was towards the end zone. He had that one, but then he hits Hunter Henry on a good one. He hits Stefon Diggs. He hits Pop Douglas on a scrambler too. Like all these guys were involved, and it's all Drake Maye's world in this offense. So, week one against I always want to say Oakland. Week one against Las Vegas was tough. He didn't look comfortable fully. Week two, he got his mojo back with Miami. Week three, they had the turnovers against Pittsburgh. But, ever since then, this guy, this offense have been on the money. And, it just goes to show that, when all goes wrong, the Patriots have their quarterback. They have their guy. You should be excited. Patriots fans should be, it's promising right now. There's some real mojo at the quarterback position. It's because of Drake Maye. He was flawless isn't the right word because there was a couple, I don't know if he missed throws. Again, we'll take a look at it on film and see what's there. But when you needed him, and you mentioned it before, we've kind of talked about Drake Maye doesn't have the signature moment. He doesn't have that drive yet. And even in the Tennessee game that we talked about, he ran around, scrambled, threw it to Stevenson. They tied the game, but then he threw a pick in overtime to lose that game. So he still hadn't fully gotten over the hump. And to get over that hump in prime time is incredible. And, we said it too, where the nation, the national media, the NFL at large hadn't known about Drake Maye yet. Well, damn it, they found out about him tonight because he was awesome in prime time against the best team in football. And Josh Allen, who is the best quarterback in football right now, people consider.
Yeah, it's the whole, I don't want to play the whole, we watch it and we're surrounded by people like Taylor or Greg who are no ball, and you read all of the advanced analytics people, talking about all of the things that Maye is doing and where he ranks with EPA, and all of the advanced metrics that show it's beyond counting stats, what he's doing. There's so much that he's doing that your average person would not be able to do, especially given the circumstances with average to below average weapons and a offensive line that's still finding its footing. It's remarkable. But again, I think even in New England, we've lost our minds collectively because we don't know how to evaluate the quarterback position anymore since Brady left, because the standard is so ridiculously high that people will see Drake Maye do. Josh Allen threw a terrible interception tonight. Terrible. If Drake Maye threw that, we'd be like, dude, he's clearly not ready.
Turn the ball over, Drake Maye. Why do you keep doing it?
People do that, they do it, and they're not, and they miss throws, they miss open guys. Sometimes we watched Mahomes be not good for a whole year last year. He's the second best quarterback who's ever lived. So Drake Maye to do this in what was technically his 17th game. So he's basically just finishing out his first full season. He's on another planet in terms of where his development is right now. If it keeps going up, we're in who the hell knows where land. That's the thing, is and I think he's just scratching the surface. To me, he's Neo, he's beginning to believe. He's starting to see it there. And they haven't even unleashed the full power of him. He's not able to do everything that he's able to do yet, because he's playing within a system and he's playing with whatever he has around him, and he's got to make it work, and he's doing it, which is crazy. But there's you just imagine wow, what if you got him some new toys, and he matures a little bit, he gets a little stronger, a little smarter, a little more seasoned, oh my God. So there's definite reason to be excited, because this sucked, Mike. It sucked for a few years. It really sucked.
It was awful. And that's, again, the standard was way too high, right? Again, going behind Tom Brady, being Cam Newton in that situation sucked for him. Being Mac Jones in that situation sucked for him. And then Drake Maye comes in. It's oh, well, I just got to be better than those two guys. I should be fine. But no, the standard is the standard here, and it did become the standard. And I mean, right now, he's living up and playing to it, and he's playing within that Josh McDaniels system that you mentioned. And I'm sure that he is only scratching the surface. I'm sure they can still add more to his plate. That's what Josh McDaniels' thing has been within this offense is, I'm going to slowly fill up your cup, and once you can drink that, then we'll give you a bowl, and then once you get ready for the bowl, you get a bucket, and it's that whole thing, right? You keep putting more on his plate, but with what they've given him on his plate, he's making the right throws. He's making quick reads. He's confident, but then he is also making the off-schedule plays when he has to. He is breaking the pocket. He is dinking and dunking when he has to and being methodical when he has to. And then when he has to put the Superman cape on, he did that 3, 4, 5 times tonight to allow them to stay in this game. And when you thought they were out of it, when they did have that unfortunate their first 3 and out in the fourth quarter when they were down, or when they were up 20-17, and you give the ball back, and it's oh no, here we go. Here come the Bills. Christian Gonzalez makes a couple of plays. They get the 2 stops. They settle for 3, and then Maye comes back again and puts the dagger in their throat on that final 2-minute drive.
Yeah. And again, as you said, Mike, so much comes down to the moment because that's how people think of things. And again, you have the national narratives. And again, people are always tying wins and losses to quarterbacks, whether or not it's truly a quarterback stat. You can debate, but that's always going to be part of this conversation when you're talking about quarterbacks. I literally had a long conversation with somebody who's like, well, Allen, like I was arguing with somebody about Maye's miles ahead of Allen in terms of his professional development at this stage in his career.
Where
Allen
was at year 2.
Allen in year 2 was still an erratic mess. And they even joked about it on the broadcast. He would just start running around and doing weird, crazy shit. And, his completion percentage was really low and he made a ton of mistakes and a ton of turnovers. But it was like, but he authored a couple of big comeback wins and Maye just doesn't have that mojo. I'm like, Jesus, this is just such dumb.
Let it happen. Yeah.
Right. It's just a strange way to frame the conversation. But now he has it. But the reality is he's been playing ridiculously well for weeks now. That shows development and maturation. If you outside of that first week, he's been the best quarterback in the NFL since week 2 and on. I mean, legitimately.
It's hard to argue. And the top 5 conversation we had last week, and I kind of laughed about it. I was like, come on, we're doing top 5. Like, he's playing top 5 quarterback right now. He is.
And again, we have to take into consideration the competition. And this is one of the worst and easiest schedules that any team has ever had. So that's going to be part of the conversation as well there too. But again, you have to look at what he's working with. And it's still not a lot. So we have to ask now, Mike, and again, we'll get back to the conversation with Taylor. He's about to join us. We have to ask, is the Diggs thing real? We're talking now back-to-back 100-yard games, but this felt different. And it felt different, not because I think he's a real technician on his routes. We know he's not alpha dog number 1 outside receiver going out and mossing people, but he's still going to be able to run crisp routes and get himself open. But today the yak juice is what I really liked off of him. He looked much like just quicker, twitchier, everything today. And we talk about it again. I'm not sure the exact date, but he's somewhere in the 10-month range.
He's coming up on, I think, a year, because I think it was late October.
Oh, I thought it was in November. Okay, so he's still within a year.
Yes.
There. Is it possible he's starting to now be the guy he's gonna be, physically speaking? Because again, a lot of people were putting nails in his coffin after an uninspired first couple of games, and maybe that was premature because again, he's 31 years old, coming off an ACL, less than a year out from an ACL surgery. But physically, this was the first time, and I'm like, this guy looks kind of like the Stefon Diggs I remember, much more so than any other game. Yeah.
No, he was great, and I think that I heard you and Greg talking before we came onto this show and talking about how he's not a number 1, but they don't need a number 1 right now. Like, I don't necessarily think they need a number 1 right now. I think he's the number 1 for this type of Patriots system. The Josh McDaniels, again, I keep going back to the word dink and dunk, and I don't mean it to be, a knock on them, but you get open, you find space, you get 5 yards, you get a little yak, and you move the chains, you get the first down, you move forward. There's not, yes, the Randy Moss year is an outlier, but they never really had that true number 1, like filthy X wide receiver, dictating coverage receiver. Now, Rob Gronkowski was different, but you talk about Julian Edelman, Wes Welker, even Danny Amendola, guys who kind of made their money in between the hashes, in between the numbers, get the ball to them in space and make guys go, and just smart, cerebral players who are always on the same page as your quarterback. That's what Stefon Diggs showed tonight. He had 10 catches on 12 targets. He was always in the right spot at the right time, again, except for that one play we talked about early on. But he was there, and him and Drake knew what to do. He knew what Drake wanted. He knew what Drake wanted to see. That play that they showed 3 or 4 times over that we talked about earlier, where Drake rolled out, found him on the sideline to set up the touchdown. You watch it on the the higher camera angle, and Diggs breaks out, breaks right, and knows that Drake's rolling right and gets to the exact spot that he wants him to be, and they move forward. So again, you can't argue with 10 catches and 146 yards against the team that, kind of wanted to kick you to the curb, for lack of a better term, in Buffalo a couple years ago in Diggs. So, look, I think that, is he a top 10 wide receiver in football like he used to be, top 5 even? No, he's not. But for what the Patriots want to do on offense, for what Josh McDaniels wants Drake Maye to do within this system, I think he can be that, and I think he 100% showed that. I mean, they ran the offense through him. Like, he had the most touches with 10. He had the most yards with 146. The target share, he had 12. The next highest was Hunter Henry with 4. Like, he's tripling Hunter Henry's target share. That just shows that he is the guy for this offense. And you and Greg said it too. He was only on the field for half their plays. So
yeah.
I don't think he's hit his ceiling yet. I think he is still getting healthy, like you said. But the yak ability was there. He had that short catch that it looked like he wanted to get himself all the way to the end zone, and he came up just short. He started to kind of pound to the ground, but he was great. He was, he dominated this Bills secondary, this Bills defense today. He was awesome, and I do think that. I keep going back to it. He's the number one for what the Patriots want to do. They could still use somebody else. They could still use a little bit more juice. But to win a 23-20 game like the way they did tonight, he was more than fine for how they want to run this offense.
He'll be a great number 2 when they go trade for like Chris Olave or AJ Brown. Yeah. I don't even want AJ. I want Olave. I think he'd be had cheap. The Saints winning today hurt that fire sale because Kamara's another guy. I think they could go knocking on the Kamara door if they want to look for somebody at that running back position.
With Rhamondre's fumble issues and then Gibson looking like he's going to be out for that's tough.
Yeah.
He got hit in the knee and looks like he was ruled out immediately. That doesn't look good. They're going to need to do something else at running back there too, because we'll talk about Rhamondre, I'm sure, in a little while, but him returning kicks, them still giving him the ball towards the end, like that confused me a bit. I know he got in the end zone twice and he kind of made me crow there, but that was ballsy for them to keep handing him the football, and they did. And he didn't fumble again, which was solid, I guess.
Yeah, no doubt. We're gonna get Taylor coming on in just a minute, and we'll continue the conversation. We will talk about Rhamondre. We'll talk about Christian Gonzalez. We'll talk about Borregales, big kick, Marcus Jones, a little bit about the Gibson injury for sure, and the Patriots defense, without whom they would not have been able to get to the point where Drake Maye would have even had a chance to win the game, because they were really solid in that first half, holding the Bills at bay and making plays. And again, good on them, because this could have gotten away early, from them if they didn't hold it down in that first half the way they did. Before we get to Taylor, we want to welcome in our pals over at Prize Picks and tell you that this is the best time to sign up for Prize Picks, America's #1 daily fantasy sports platform. Pick more, pick less. It's that easy. You see that offer on the screen. Get 50 in your lineups instantly when you play 5. And when you download that app and use the code CLNS, once again, download the app, code CLNS, get 50 in your lineups when you play a $5 lineup. Super fun, super easy to play. Great promotions, very intuitive app. Check it out on your phone. It looks great. It's easy to play. It's fun to play. Mix and match sports if you like. I personally lock in on a time, 1 o'clock, 4 o'clock, Sunday night, Thursday night football, whatever it is, and just kind of focus in on that. I find that to be the most fun way to play, but it doesn't matter. You could take this and go with a basketball game, with a baseball game. It doesn't really matter. Any 2 players, any 2 teams, any stats. Prize Picks is there for you. Once again, download the app, code CLNS, get 50 in your lineups instantly when you play a $5 lineup. Prize Picks, run your game. Let's bring in our guy, Taylor. Here
he is.
Hello, friends.
He thought there was no way the Patriots could go into Buffalo and win this game. 0.
Who?
What I will say is Taylor Kyles not only thought they could win, he said they should win this game. Not could, should win this game. And Taylor, they did. Did it go the way you thought it would go, though?
I was hoping for a cleaner game. I think everybody was, but at the same time, it felt like that might have been asking a little bit too much. Like you figured, all right, maybe Drake Maye has a turnover-worthy play. Something like that happens. Was really hoping we weren't going to get that Rhamondre Stevenson fumble, but it was pretty fantastic to see. Not only did they stick with him and show confidence, partially because they had to, of course, because of Antonio Gibson's injury. But to see him score 2 touchdowns in the red zone was really, really cool. I'm sure we'll talk about Antonio Gibson later. But yeah, I mean, I figured it was going to be Drake Maye and Josh Allen having to go toe-to-toe with each other, and whoever had the ball last was probably going to be the one that pulled out the win. Now, technically, Josh Allen had the ball last, but didn't have a whole lot of time to work with. So, for the most part, I would say it's about what I expected. It was a hard-fought game. It was fun throughout, very competitive, and, the Patriots came out on top. But obviously, you could see this could have gone either way. The Bills really shot themselves in the foot. Patriots made it very clear they have a lot to clean up, but we already knew that, right? This wasn't a perfect team, but neither were the Bills. And obviously today, the Bills had more warts than the Patriots.
So, Taylor, I'll ask you, because Mike and I talked about it at the top of the show. Like, it doesn't always go this way, right? It's you get the national media hype, you got a primetime game, you need your storylines. And the storylines are Josh Allen and the guy who wants to be Josh Allen, the guy who people are comparing to Josh Allen, the guy who someday might be Josh Allen, but not until he beats Josh Allen. And then what happens is it actually turns into a duel between Josh Allen and Drake Maye, coming down to who gets the ball last. And as you said, technically Allen did, but not really. And Drake Maye won. He won it. That was
in crazy fashion, man. And in the way that you were hoping, like,
happen. Yeah.
It did, but that was the exciting part, really, is that you were hoping, obviously, it was going to be a relatively clean game, but you got the Josh Allen kind of plays from Josh Allen. And honestly, at this point, let's just say, like, Drake Maye is going to become Drake Maye. I forget who it was. I think it was Stefon Diggs, kind of acknowledged the fact that there are all these comparisons to Josh Allen. And at some point, like, you just have to be your own guy. And the way that Drake Maye is playing, I don't think it's fair to keep saying, like, oh, can he be Josh Allen? Can he be Justin Herbert or whatever? Like, Drake Maye is writing his own legacy very early in his career, obviously. But, I mean, the plays that he made, that 2-minute drive was exactly what you've been wanting from Drake Maye, where, the chips are on the line. It's not an easy situation. The guy's under fire, and he's still making these crazy plays, like the one where he's getting dragged down, still finds Stefon Diggs, manages to hit a honey hole shot a millisecond before he took a hit and wound up on the turf. Like, those kinds of things, it's not, oh, maybe one day he's going to be Josh Allen. This is a guy who I think is creating his own legacy very, very early. But the numbers are backing it up. The tape is backing it up. Now it's finally starting to translate into wins because you have the coaching and you have Drake Maye playing a cleaner brand of football. So, I mean, I keep wanting to say that because I don't like the comparisons, period. But, like, Drake Maye is doing his thing, and I think we need to give him that respect.
And I'll add, too, just as far as, like, the Drake Maye angle mixed in with, where this team is, right? Because when they won that game against Miami in week 2, it was like, okay, that was so much crummier than this game. The back and forth, the returns, that kind of went, back and forth with those two teams. And then, obviously, Achane steps out of bounds. And that was just a disaster, but they found a way to win a grimy game. Tonight, they went up against the team in the Bills at their stadium. And then it was like, oh no, it's 20 to 10. Oh no, it's 20 to 17. Oh no, 3-and-out. They have the ball back. But then the Patriots defense, and I know we're talking about Drake Maye, but because it comes back to Drake Maye in the end, the defense helps him out. They hold him to 3 with those 2 great plays from Christian Gonzalez. The game is only tied instead of having to come back from down 4 at that point if they scored a touchdown. And then they play complimentary football on the other end, and the offense goes down and does it. So this team has confidence to win games now, which they haven't had in late last season as a whole. They didn't have any confidence to win. They only won 4 games early on. They lose that game to Vegas. It's like, oh no, can they find ways to win? But now they're finding ways to win against not only a Miami team that was down in the dumps, but now you find a way to win against a Buffalo team who's the best team in the AFC. So top to bottom, things to clean up. Great win, and Drake Maye, sticks it to them at the end. So it was great to see.
Yeah, and Taylor, as you said earlier, the cleaner brand of football, I think, is key, because I think there's a lot of people out there who are like, this is going to end with a Drake Maye forcing an interception, isn't it? Like, because we've seen it, and because I think that Drake Maye, based off of inexperience. Sometimes people who have a lot of natural ability sometimes put too much faith in that ability, thinking that they can do things that maybe, they can, but might not be the best decision given the time or the circumstances that they're in. And also just, he doesn't have a lot to work with around him. So sometimes he might feel that he has to force the issue. I don't think he did that. I think, and tell me if I'm wrong, like, yeah, it looked like he ran into a couple of sacks in the first half, but I think in his mind, he was thinking, just don't do something stupid here. Like, I don't like it. I'm not seeing what I don't see what I like here. I'm just going to kind of just take it. I'll just take the sack and I'll eat it. And they weren't awful sacks. They weren't sacks that are drive killers that are 18 yards behind the line of scrimmage. He kind of just ran forward. I think it was 2 sacks for 4 yards total. At the end of the game there, he makes that smart play where, and we see quarterbacks do this all the time. Don't throw the ball, don't throw the ball, don't throw the ball, don't throw the ball. Whatever you do, don't throw the ball. And he has the sensibility. But you're like, but I could hit that guy because I'm Drake Maye. But he didn't do it.
You know the smart thing, too, quickly to cut you off that he did there as well? He didn't just run out of bounds and lose a couple yards. He got right back to the line of scrimmage. So he kept them in the same field goal range that they needed to. He didn't lose 3 or 4 yards. Now, granted, Andy's kick, like we mentioned, would have been good from freaking 70.
Oh, my God.
Like, that was filthy. But to get back to it, he was smart enough to not only go out of bounds and save the play, but he gets them right back to the line of scrimmage and no harm, no foul.
But the cleaner brand of football is what we're talking about here at this point. Is he's got in his last 4 games, 83 for 107, 974 yards, 78% completion rate, which is ridiculous. 6 touchdowns, 1 interception. And that's, and then, 110 yards to go with 100 plus rushing yards and 2 rushing touchdowns. That's clean football. That's efficient football. But mixed in with that, Taylor, he's making a lot of ridiculous plays that not a lot of people could make.
This was really the Drake Maye game where I feel like we got all the things that, like, I know, John, you've been wanting this for a while. Like in training camp, when he's doing all the things that Josh wants, he's throwing to the right guy, dinking and dunking, taking what the defense gives him, all that. You're like, yeah,
profits.
Sure. Like, this is Drake Maye, right? Profits. Like, I want to take a gamble every once in a while, but it didn't even really feel like gambles. It just felt like Drake Maye being the natural playmaker that he is when he got opportunities to get outside the pocket and hit guys. And obviously, like the flick to Stefon Diggs at the end there was kind of like reminiscent of the Travion Henderson, where you're like, no, don't do that. But in this situation, it was one where he was actually in a good spot, and obviously not in one where he was going to fumble. But I like that we saw him get downfield. We saw him buy time with his legs. Like, really, the scrambles were the biggest thing, I think, in the second half that turned the tide. Mike Vrabel mentioned that the Bills, they'd actually been preparing for the Bills to blitz all week. They didn't in the first half, which apparently kind of threw the Patriots off. In the second half, you saw more blitzes, and those man coverage situations allowed Drake Maye more opportunities to buy that time because he didn't have as many zone defenders on him. Now, I will say, and this is in a way also exciting, is that it wasn't a perfect game for Drake either. There were times where, like, yes, the sacks, I have to go back and see whether or not he needed to take those, but he admitted there were times where he would leave the pocket, there was a spy on him, and they were just dropping the edges because they wanted him to think that he had room to get outside. And most of the time he still made it work, but the Bills also got their, their licks
Wilson
in there
did something funky on one of them where I think that threw him a little bit there.
I think he thought there was going to be a twist, like he just felt like there was movement, and then he went to block somebody else,
and he was late on that, and Maye was like, oh shit, so that one I think just kind of happened.
Also, I wasn't happy it happened, but I asked Josh McDaniels this week about cover 1 looks that are actually disguised cover 2. I just want to know his perspective because I knew the Bills did it a ton. The Patriots also do it a ton, so I kind of wanted to get both sides of that coin. But I asked him specifically about that, and he, in Josh McDaniels fashion, very wisely, still gave a great answer, but didn't really talk about that specifically. The second sack was exactly that. Drake thought he was getting man coverage, looked like he wanted to throw to beat man. It was actually Tampa 2, and at that point, he was like, all right, let me try to get something on the ground.
So let me ask you what happened there, because the first half he was uncomfortable. It looked like the Bills disguising their coverages threw him a little bit. And again, without the benefit of, seeing it from a vantage point of the press box where you can see more of the field, or looking at the all 22s where you can actually see what happened on a play. You don't know if people are open, and if actually taking a sack or kind of scrambling out of bounds and, running and throwing it away was the right call or not, or if he missed somebody because he got flustered. Collinsworth is spending half the game talking about how he's looking down and not looking up and like whatever. But I
think Collinsworth was looking down and not looking up.
I think Collinsworth, like I said, had a story he wanted.
Just making noise at some point.
As often he does, he has a story.
Any Patrick Mahomes mentions? How many do we get? In a Josh Allen Drake Maye game, how many times did he mention Patrick Mahomes?
Basically, if you want Chris Collinsworth in a nutshell, the story he wanted to tell tonight was that Drake Maye is not Josh Allen yet, and that Josh Allen just became Josh Allen like recently. Like he hasn't been this guy for the past 4 friggin' years. But it doesn't matter. It doesn't.
But then we got the Chris Collinsworth. You have got to be kidding me, Drake May. And
you have got to be kidding me. Now here's a guy.
You got a ho.
We got that for Drake, so he is officially
you converted
arrived.
Collinsworth in that too. But what I wanted to ask Taylor is, what happened in the second half? Do you think the Patriots came back with better game plan because they were recognizing what the Bills were doing and they were prepared for it, or May just settled down and started to see things better? Because again, you're talking about a night and day performance with the first half and the second half, both offenses really. But for May, I mean, that's as good a half of football as you can play. You're looking at 13 of 14, 184 passing yards with a few signature plays, big time plays, big time throws, 6 of 6 for 90 yards in the fourth quarter alone. What changed between first half and second half, May?
I think it was really the Bills defense. And again, this is more off like comments and just what I was seeing and what it felt like. But I think it was that the Patriots prepared for a certain game plan from the Bills. The Bills didn't do that in the first half, did it in the second, and that played more into what the Patriots maybe were planning on doing. And again, when you play man coverage against the Patriots, it's just very difficult because you have to account for Drake. And if one guy gets bumped inside, like you see it sometimes where Hunter Henry or Rhamondre Stevenson will get a chip on the edge, that sometimes can allow the tackles to really pin those guys inside and give Drake May a bit of an angle to create those plays. And obviously, like also him and Stefon Diggs were just in lockstep most of the game, but especially in that second half. So it's hard for me to say, but again, I really do think based on comments and some of the plays that I specifically noticed was that the Bills just kind of moved towards more man, more blitzing, and away from some of the zone looks that may have been throwing May off a bit earlier. And then obviously he did find a groove. I think maybe just seeing something that he was more familiar with allowed him to feel more comfortable. But again, it wasn't perfect, so I don't want to make any grand proclamations or anything, but the fourth quarter was the fourth quarter. Like you said, 6 for 6, 90 yards. Weren't a whole lot of plays where I was like, damn, Drake, like you got to do better. Even the bootleg at the end, they ran it, and I was thinking like, okay, it's third down, just bootleg. If he's got it, good. If he doesn't, just get down. Great situational awareness to not throw it. Like we see veteran quarterbacks do this all the time. They'll throw it away. They'll walk out of bounds, and it's like, why are you doing that? Run the clock. Great situational awareness, and hopefully somebody reminded him of zero or whatever, but he got down, allowed him to take some more time off the clock, so I thought that was awesome.
Okay. May will continue to kind of filter through this the conversation, because again, it's such a big story. And again, I think it's that thing that everybody wants to see. Like, did we get the guy? Did we get the guy? Yeah, you got the guy. But the other thing was, it's hard to not talk about Stefon Diggs and wonder, I guess, is this real? Because I've said this now to Greg and I've said it to Mike, but I want your take. The Diggs we saw tonight, I know he had 100 yards receiving last week as well. The Diggs we saw tonight was a different human than what we've seen earlier in the season, just in the way that he moved, his ability to run after the catch. I know he was jacked up for this game, and honestly, I love the honesty about it all. He said it in pregame interviews. He said it in postgame interviews. Nostalgic coming here. Was it personal? Yes. Like, he left it all out there. So he really wanted to perform, but that's not enough to put up the type of game that he put up here. He was outstanding all game long. Is this a thing that just happened, or has he like physically finally started to get there, Taylor, where this is what we can expect? Not 146 every single game, but this version of Stefon Diggs is, again, we're looking at the snap counts. He still only played half the snaps, and he pulled in a stat line like that. He was everywhere.
I still think it's going to be the kind of situation where different guys are going to lead the team in receiving each week. But I think that Diggs, if we're at the end of the season counting up who had the most 100-yard games or who led the most, I think it will be him. And in training camp, obviously, we had our questions. They weren't using him to his full capacity. He didn't play in the preseason. You can only glean so much from training camp because you're not tackling, right? So if a guy jukes somebody in space, like, okay, did he actually juke this guy, or did the guy pull up because he knows he's not trying to level his teammate or anything like that? I will say, though, the yak specifically is something that I feel like is really starting to turn on in the past couple games for Stefon Diggs, because you saw it, man. He looked slippery at times. The downfield chemistry that he's starting to build with Drake May that we saw glimpses of last week. And in the summer, you saw some of it, but it was still like, it feels like Diggs is kind of more of a chain mover for these guys. He shows up on crossing routes every once in a while, but you didn't see that like inherent, oh my God, it looks like Josh Allen, Stefon Diggs 2.0. this looked like Josh Allen, Stefon Diggs 2.0. Not to, again, I don't want to get to the comparisons, but it's literally impossible when you're on the field that Stefon Diggs had so much success with Josh Allen on. And I didn't get to get the question in, but there were so many times where I was just like, this feel like the way that he's responding. You have to imagine playing with Josh Allen for so long, a top tier quarterback with elite talent who can make these wild plays that 99% of human beings could only dream of making. And his ability to remain calm, be a nice security blanket, like going and scooping passes when he had to, making tough adjustments. Obviously, there was that underneath throw where Drake said he threw behind him. Seemed like maybe he was trying to protect him. I don't know if he wanted him to settle or not. But those two, I really do think they're building something special. And like, it's a level of chemistry we haven't seen him have with anybody else. Matt Collins, we saw some flashes at the end of summer. Haven't really seen that in the regular season. Demario Douglas, another week where he's blocking his ass off. Like, credit to him for doing what he had to do when he was on the field and making the most of his targets today. But he's not a very big part of this offense either. It's really Stefon Diggs, Hunter Henry, and then Rhamondre Stevenson when he's able to consistently be a part of the game plan. So, I mean, when there's times that maybe you have athletic safeties like the Bills have, where it's tougher to really hit Hunter Henry consistently because they're experienced in terms of Taylor Rapp and very athletic in terms of Cole Bishop. Not a lot of guys on this secondary that I thought could cover Stefon Diggs, and we saw that, whether it was zone, whether it was man, his intelligence and experience, and just, I think, the mental toughness showed consistently for him. So I do think this could be a more consistent kind of thing for Stefon Diggs, and I think you just continue to see his rapport with Drake Maye growing each week.
And I think that his wide receiver ceiling his wide receiver one ceiling that he had with Josh Allen in Buffalo, that's probably gone. And I think we've kind of succumbed to that.
That's
He's
fair.
31. He's coming off the ACL. But like, to go for 10 for 146 and have that chemistry with Drake Maye today, play in, play out when you need it. Like the gotta have it situations between those two have been here all season. But now back and forth twice on 100-yard games, like, he's the wide receiver one that you need in this offense specifically, where you know where he's going to be on the right time. It's not that you have to go to him even 15 times. Now, granted, they target him 12 times a game, but you know what I'm saying there, where he's not the huge goal ball guy. He's not the 15-yard, 20-yard dig Stefon Diggs guy anymore, but he is what they need for this offense to get it going, get it flowing, and winning 2 games in a row. And they did it again tonight. So I think Diggs is exactly what they need for a top guy in this offense. Now, adding more and what have you, that's another story for another day, another year, really. But I think he's okay, and I think he's good with, he is what they need right now.
Kind of reminds me a little bit of, not exactly Edelman, but kind of similar to Edelman, where like he's not a captain, but very clearly has a leadership role in this team because he's experienced. Stefon Diggs doesn't have the rings, but like, it's a guy whose resume speaks for itself, and he's producing. Like, we've talked about it, like, no offense to Kendrick Bourne, of course, but it was kind of different when you had Kendrick Bourne hyping everybody up, and it's like, respectfully, you haven't done a ton in the league. So when things get hard, it's easy for guys to kind of tune it out. But when Stefon Diggs is like, no, like, we're locking in, like, this shit is serious. It's hard to tell Stefon Diggs, yeah, whatever, because he's doing it. He's done it in the past, and he's doing it now.
The whole room gravitates towards him, and then he does it on the field.
Exactly. And that was just another cool thing to see, because we'd seen little glimpses of it. And it's like, we don't think Stefon Diggs is bad. There were times where we talked about Drake Maye just wasn't really exploiting all the opportunities, but now it feels like he is doing that. And when Diggs gets fired up like that, it just does that much more, I would think, to help out his teammates and really get them juiced up as well. On top of the Mr. Brightside. Bad move, Bills. Never play Mr. Brightside. Just gets people too amped up.
Well, the thing is, that stuff can go a couple different ways, right? Like, you can act like the guy, but if people don't think you're the guy, they're just like, oh, here's this guy talking because he thinks, he wants the attention on him, and I don't give a crap what he says. So the fact that it worked, or the fact that there's buy-in, or the fact that people responded to Stefon Diggs' pregame speech and emotional stuff before the game definitely speaks to a level of leadership that I think some people were quick to just determine he doesn't have. This is a problem. And again, we've seen it with I hate to label every receiver as if they're the same class of species, a diva receiver. Everyone's got their own thing, but we've seen it go a certain way with a lot of different people, a lot of different ways. And again, you've seen Diggs wear out welcomes multiple times already. So, look at the knocks on it. 31, coming off an ACL, and he's going to be a pain in the ass that's going to destroy the culture. That doesn't seem like it's the case right now.
No, and I mean, there's I kind of lost my train of thought there for a second. Sorry, Mike, you go. I'll get it back.
As far as the culture goes, we've had questions. We had questions about it on Patriots Daily throughout the offseason when things happened over the offseason and it looked like he was late to practice one day, and then he had the interview with Rossini, and he had to come out and he called out Tom and Phil. There have been things that started to not quite bubble over, but there was some smoke, and we thought, okay, when is the fire going to happen? And they've seemingly put out the fire.
Phil walked it back. He thought he got out ahead of himself. He said, I probably shouldn't have said pain in the ass. But that was not the fact that there were any breadcrumbs or indications that like he's doing his own thing. Though I didn't like the Vrabel thing where he's like, I don't know if I'm playing. And Vrabel's like, oh, frick this guy. Look at him. He's out there practicing. Of course he's playing.
Right.
I was like, why are we doing this? Are they at odds? But I don't know. It doesn't seem.
And I'll say
right
I at least appreciate that he's aware of it. Like, he's not just like, oh, what are you all upset about? Like, he had the whole press conference where he addressed the situation with Phil today. Even he said, like, I'm not a perfect person, kind of, I think, also acknowledging the comments earlier when he did 6 out of 10, which he also joked about, which is actually pretty funny. But there's that one thing that I think he has a certain level of awareness of, like, what his role is on this team. And when he says that, like, he's more like a cog and they have a lot of weapons, I think he believes it because it's not like he's lying. This is a team that, no, do they have, like, a bunch of wide receiver ones? No. But they are guys with quality skill sets. We're in this Josh McDaniels scheme where he can actually maximize those skill sets, unlike what we were hoping we were going to see in some years past with these guys. It actually works. And Diggs knows that he's not that guy. Like, he's not the wide receiver one where, Gonzo can go up against him and he's still going to have a pretty good day. Like, I think he gets that. And there's a certain level of humility, I think, with him on this team that I think, I'm not going to speak for his time on the Texans. I wasn't there, but at least what I heard when he first came to the Patriots was that, like, yeah, no, he was a captain. Like, he did what he was supposed to do. And just at this stage of his career, it seems like he's kind of pulling up from the diva thing, which was there. I think he would admit that, he wanted the ball and was very vocal about it earlier in his career. This isn't a situation where he can really do that. Maybe if there's a game where he's wide open a lot, like he'll have the conversation with Drake. But even Drake a couple weeks ago when he was asked, are you trying to get Diggs the ball more? He's like, if he's open, yeah. And what are you going to say? Because Drake genuinely does just go to whoever's open, as we've seen with the different receiving yard leaders up until the past couple weeks.
So Diggs is the unquestioned number one, is what you're saying.
Yeah. In this offense,
I'm just kidding. But a go-to guy,
it's all there.
Here's the thing. A go-to guy isn't the worst thing, but really it's more a matter of establishing trust. He has it already with Hunter Henry, but that can only get you so far. You do need someone who could be a little bit more dynamic with the ball in his hands. A lot of people thought it might be Pop Douglas because, we've seen that from him. It's turning out to be Diggs. You'd like to see him, before that, he definitely had a little something going with Booty. So to me, it's less about the next man up. They've got it's really more the trust in the person being where you want them to be, getting on the same page and doing all of that stuff. I think that goes a long way here. And now you're seeing it a little bit with multiple people, which can only help. Because again, it's not the most dynamic group of receivers. There's not huge playmakers there necessarily, but this is about as good as you can hope for, certainly from Stefon Diggs at this point in his career, coming off the injury that he has. I don't think there were illusions that he's a number one, but it's, can he be a trusted target? Can he run crisp routes? Can he get open, when you need somebody to get open? And right now, the last two weeks definitely make you feel better about that. We got a little Drake Maye sound we're going to play. I have no idea what it's about. Let me see. Oh, here he is talking about Diggs, I think.
Yeah, you knew. It's storybook. You knew. I thought you should have got the end zone when he got caught, but
this
coming back to your first game, prime time.
He's so
You
Gronk.
see it all week. He just loves football. He loves the game.
QB Gronk.
He's got a lot in the tank left, so it's good that he's a Patriot.
There it is. And let's return the favor. Here's Stefon Diggs talking about Drake Maye, particularly the comparisons that he's been drawing to Josh Allen.
I feel like it was a hell of a comparison to be compared to Josh Allen. But as you come into your own, Drake Maye has to be Drake Maye. And I was just so proud of him, coming in here and leading the team. Being a young quarterback can be hard sometimes, and that's why you have a supporting cast. Running backs making plays, receivers making plays, and let them know that you got his back. So I was just super proud of him.
Taylor, that's what you said.
That's what I said. Sounds like we're on the
Kinda.
same page. I was just listening to that, and I was like, just going back to the draft of like, if they, for whatever reason, like if the Commanders had taken Drake May instead, like, no, I wouldn't be upset with Jaden Daniels, but just like how young he is and the level of success he's already having. That we saw last year, everyone's like, this is a pretty shitty situation he's in, and he's actually making it look somewhat functional on a weekly basis while making the mistakes that you obviously expect, but also not making a ton of mistakes that people actually thought he was going to make more consistently. It's exciting, man. This kid's ceiling is very high. And, you know, usually I like to pump the brakes to a certain degree of like, all right, here's the caveat. But really, I mean, people say he has all the intangibles. He really does. This is a dude who's locked into football, is a good leader as a young guy in a locker room full of veterans who clearly have a lot of respect for him. And they have it because he does his job. He comes out here and he actually puts it out on the field. So just Patriots fans, be very glad you have Drake May. This kid's arrow just seems like it's pulling up every week.
He also has the tangibles. He's got them both. But go ahead, Mike.
And there are no caveats, Taylor. Like there really isn't, because there was a sort of, it was more of a radio storyline, but you know I follow those here and there, and it was the does he really care about winning? Like, because he's kind of even keel and he doesn't get too high, he doesn't get too low. You talk about he doesn't celebrate when they score touchdowns, whatever. But last week, they asked him about, is this your ceiling? Is this the best Drake May? And he goes, if we're winning, that's the Drake May I want. And then this week, they showed him on the sideline on the TV copy. When Andy hit that freaking field goal, he was fired up. And then they show him in Vrabel, like, he wants to win. So that's clear. So get that out of the way. I mean, everything else with this guy, it's just there. And we talked about it before you came on. Through 17 games, he's playing like this. And he keeps getting compared to Josh Allen, and we don't want to do the comparisons, but we're doing the comparisons, and that's the whole thing. But through 17 games, Josh Allen was still 2018 Josh Allen, 50% completion percentage Josh Allen, making bonehead plays every other play Josh Allen. Drake May is 17 games in playing super efficient football, still, kind of here and there doing what he can with his legs and trying to make hero ball plays, but he's doing it smarter than he was even last year. So he's improving at a much more rapid rate than Josh Allen ever was when he was early.
Which is why I did not like the comparisons out of the draft. I said that. Right. I was like, I do not think he's as much of a project as Josh Allen was, where he literally was spraying it, throwing directly at defenders. Like, has Drake had his spray misses and his silly moments? Yes, but I didn't think it was anything close, and thankfully that's actually translating to the pros.
Right.
Again, I do want to point out, forget the Josh Allen comparisons, like, after Tom Brady's first season, in which he won a Super Bowl, there were still plenty of people who were like, I think they should bring back Drew Bledsoe to compete for his job. So again, you're talking about after a year, have you ever been so? There were still people who thought Brady spent 5 years with a game manager label, with people who are like, I think he's about the system. I'm still not sure about the kid. Like, you're pretty sure about Drake May. I'm not comparing where his career arc is going to resemble. Of course not. It's Tom Brady. But it's rare. It's very – how many people can you – like at the quarterback position? I mean, Jaden Daniels certainly last year made everybody feel pretty good about it. But in this short a period of time, you're like, yup, that's the guy. No questions asked. It's pretty rare, Like, you see it. You have the guys. Mahomes comes out there. He's friggin' Mahomes right away. He's slinging all over the place. But for a guy who's supposed to be a project, as you said, a year into this, Taylor, to not really have a lot of question marks and just be looking forward to him getting better and better and better, I think is much farther along than anybody expected based on the narrative that was surrounding Drake May when he came out of college.
And even Patrick Mahomes wasn't actually Patrick Mahomes out of the gate. He sat behind Alex Smith for a year.
No, but
and then it was that last game. But I know what you mean. But
the
like,
last game he came out,
and
then his first year as a starter, it was like, and they even said it. They're like, even Alex Smith has said in interviews, Mahomes should have started. Like it was stupid, but like I was there. Like he was so good, and we all knew it. But anyway, yeah.
Your point though, Taylor, is that he had a full year of development.
Exactly. Like, you don't see guys get thrown into the fire like Drake was. Like, obviously, a few games of Jacoby for whatever that was worth, of course. But I do think still it was good for him to kind of understand what it actually meant to be in the NFL, because there was a transition period. But like, there's, I guess, another Josh Allen comparison is he is a guy who literally did get thrown into the fire and really had to just sink or swim early on and eventually figured it out. But there's not a ton of guys, I think, in Drake Maye's position who did have so much responsibility thrust on them so quickly and have been able to produce at this level. And again, with that, like, when you do see it, it's like a Dak Prescott or a Ben Roethlisberger or a CJ Stroud, where they have a lot of talent on the team already. And basically it's like, all right, just drive the Ferrari and don't crash it. And then because they're talented players, you still also see the flashes that are, you see the flashes of their special ability. And with Drake, it just feels like you saw it much earlier. And I don't want to be disrespectful to any of those guys, but it just does feel like a very unique beginning to a career for a young quarterback.
I mean, I'm trying to think of the top 5, top 10 guys right now in the league. Like, I mean, Mahomes is the one who we said developed right away, was him immediately. But Josh Allen was good right away. Burrow was good, but he got hurt, and I guess he was pretty good right away. Lamar Jackson took a long time to develop. He was not great early on. It took him a little while behind Joe Flacco. He came in, and he really couldn't throw the football that second half of his rookie year, but then he took some time to develop. I mean, talk about Matthew Stafford. I can't remember his 2009 season. He was pretty good right away. But like a lot of these guys, even through the top 10, your Baker Mayfields, your Jared Goffs, like they
even Herbert. You see the arm talent. Yeah. So
again,
he's
ahead of schedule.
You're seeing a lot of elite things from Maye right now. Moving the conversation along, a lot of people in the chat are saying, I hope Antonio Gibson's not too hurt. I have some bad news for everybody. It seems like he is too hurt. The early reports are that it was a significant knee injury. He was crying when he left the field coming out of the blue medical tent. Usually, I mean, they can do tests in there that pretty much tell you what it is before you even, get the MRIs. So he was clearly emotional because I think he realized his season's probably over, and he suffered a significant knee injury, leaving there, which leaves us in a bit of a conundrum here because you've got the Rhamondre Stevenson situation, which again, it's almost I almost didn't have it in me to react when he fumbled. I was like, I just can't believe it. Yeah.
I just sent out like a one sentence tweet with a period and was like, I'm not saying anything else. I'm not making a guess. I'm not doing all that. It's just, it sucks.
No commentary, no rage. I was just like, really? And it happened again. And so we talk about this. Mike Vrabel, I don't like the punishment thing. I think it's stupid. But at a certain point, a problem is a problem. But now it's a problem because you can't do anything about it. You have to play Rhamondre Stevenson right now because Travion Henderson is an absolute liability in pass protection, and you just lost your other guy Gibson, who was mixing in there. So here we go. Well, what are we doing at the running back position, Taylor?
Yeah, first the Antonio Gibson thing, man, that really sucks.
Yeah.
Really good dude, had been making the most of his opportunities, as we know. Unfortunately, terrible. It looked like when he planted his leg, that was what initially caused it. So when you actually see the hit, I don't think the hit really did much. And then just watching from the booth, like it didn't look good. So I just want to, send condolences, everything to him, man. It really, really is unfortunate. And beyond that, it is a really tough position that you're in now because Rhamondre does have to play Travion. I do think he's made growth in pass protection. He had a pretty solid rep that I noticed earlier today. He might have misidentified the guy, but he ended up blocking the right guy eventually, so that's good. I was talking to Giardi about it. Like, do you try to trade like a late round pick for somebody? Do you go to the bargain bin that's probably very shallow right now? Like you're going into October, or is it October yet?
Go get Kamara.
Yeah, yeah, sure. If they beat the Saints next week, maybe there's a fire sale or something like that.
They were talking fire sale prior to this game, and then those assholes went out and beat the Giants. So because I had my eyes on Olave as the target, not.
Dude, I can't do Olave. I'm sorry. Too many brain injuries that Olave terrify. Unless it's literally
he's terrifying.
We'll pay you to take him. Then maybe, but he scares me. But yeah, I don't think you don't have good options. Like you're a month into the season and you really only have two running backs. Obviously, They also have Terrell Jennings on the practice squad as well. He's got experience, but they haven't elevated him, and it didn't seem like they're exactly eager to get him out there. Even though I do like his skill set, I think he's physical, he's good in pass pro, and he's got solid hands. But you're gonna have to rely on your two guys, to be honest. Pray that they can stay healthy. Pray that Travion Henderson continues to show development, so that you can trust him being on the field as a true 1A, potentially 1B guy, or if he is just your RB2.
But I'll ask you guys, forget about the bodies. Well, like Rhamondre played because he had to, and it's a nice little redemption arc where he gets those 2 touchdowns, which is great. But the overall numbers are grisly in terms of the Patriots running the football, and they continue to be. And this is a bad Bills run defense. So what's going on here right now? Because again, I will say, whose name wasn't mentioned at all tonight? Will Campbell. And again, from a pass protection standpoint, the Patriots held up mostly okay, and they've been doing fine on that front. But from as far as run blocking goes, you're not seeing them opening up holes. You're not seeing the running backs do anything with the opportunities given. It's been really uninspired. Is this fixable, Taylor?
It's tough to say, because I thought this was the game where you really needed. There's no Ed Oliver, there's no TJ Sanders. It's a run defense that already isn't very good. Like when Bosa's out there, you basically put a target on his back and you do your thing. And the fact that they didn't is very discouraging for me. I thought they had made signs of like slight incremental growth. Maybe the tape will show me more, but it felt like a lot of the day they were running into a wall. Now, Will Campbell and Jared Wilson are rookies. That is to be expected. They can have really good games, and then there's going to be times where their combos don't hold up as well, and they each have to learn these, lessons week in and week out and in practice and everything. So that's probably going to be inconsistent the rest of the year. Garrett Bradbury, for as good as he's been in pass pro, it's kind of like a flip situation where he's been pretty inconsistent as a run blocker, some really great reps, but also some where he ends up on the ground or isn't able to sustain. The right side, I'm honestly not sure, because Morgan Moses has been very good as a run blocker overall, especially downhill. Austin Hooper's been fantastic. The skill players, actually, Hunter Henry, Matt Collins, and Austin Hooper all created lanes that helped Rhamondre Stevenson score his touchdown. So that was good to see, because I have thought that outside of Hooper, the other guys have been pretty inconsistent there. But yeah, it's tough to know from the live game, but I think the reality is that you have a rookie left side, a center who's probably nearing the end of his career, and then a right guard who I don't want to poo-poo Mike Nwenu, because I thought he was better last week, but he's also been inconsistent as a guy who, when you go like 2 or 3 years back, you're running behind Mike Nwenu all the time, and he's very rarely making any egregious mistakes. So I have to see what the exact case was in this game, but I'm absolutely discouraged, because this needed to be a game where you could just control the clock, get it down to 10 seconds, and just punch them in the teeth, and they weren't able to do that with any level of consistency.
And just back to the bodies in the room for a second. Like you mentioned it, nothing more needs to be said about Gibson. Unfortunate situation. The Rhamondre Stevenson thing is a difficult situation, because yes, he does have the redemption arc with the 2 touchdowns, but every single time he touched the football after that fumble, I held my breath. And I think Patriots fans collectively held their breath. Like, yes, I don't agree with
the Henderson kickoff where he like got low. I heard like so many people gasp after that.
Yeah.
Like there was an effect in the stadium on that. So yeah, to your point.
And then when Rhamondre comes in and has to be a kick returner because Gibson's out and he's fielding kicks, I'm like, get the ball out of his hands. And it's no offense to Rhamondre Stevenson. Like, he's been through it this year. He's been through the shit and back. But, like, and I'm with you guys that I don't think that guys need to be punished. But sometimes guys need to be taken out of their own way. And at what point is it also just a hindrance to the football team? Because he
it was happening.
Football and he gave it up. Like, and so, again, he gets the 2 touchdowns. So there's a bit of a redemption arc there. But he still wasn't great on the ground. He still only had 14 yards on 7 carries. Like, I don't know if you bench him. I don't know if you trade him. People start saying cut. Like, I'm not cutting Rhamondre Stevenson, especially because of the attrition in the room already with Antonio Gibson. He's important in pass pro, but I mean, at what point, I guess, is enough with the fumbles? Like, we asked that the last time, Taylor, and we'll know when we know. But then it happens again. Like, so what do you do? Because, at some point, something else has to be done. You can't just keep handing him the rock and keep having him cough up the football.
I mean, I think we saw what happens if there's games where, like, again, they have to give him the ball. I maybe if it gets to the point where he's literally fumbling weeks in a row, then we'll revisit this conversation. But we saw he fumbles. Okay, we'll give you another chance, but we're going to significantly reduce your carries.
Yeah.
You're going to be in blitz pickup. You're going to be in pony. We're going to throw you the ball, but we may not trust you as much to actually pound the rock. And then when he fumbled again, we saw his role almost completely go out the window outside of some pass protection and third down stuff. This week, he fumbles, and then obviously that was very big and fortunate it didn't lead to a worse outcome, but then you scored 2 touchdowns. It's like, all right, well, we literally won the game because of you in large part, so that sucked, but we also did need you. So I think that is what it is it has to be a week-by-week situation, and until it really is like, it has to be like him fumbling consecutive weeks multiple times where it's like we literally can't put this guy out on the field. But I mean, when he's producing like one of your best playmakers, he's not the only running back in the NFL who's good and has fumble problems. He's probably not as good as like a Derrick Henry, where it's like, damn, obviously it's King Henry. You'll put up with it to a certain degree, but he's still one of the most well-rounded backs in the NFL. And as I said, one of the best players on this team. So,
and again, you don't have anybody else. But
I know,
sorry for our podcast listeners. I just went silent, but like I don't know.
No. It's you don't have a lot else there either. But you saw what the plan was. The last 2 times he fumbled it wasn't a punishment. It was I don't want to lose the ball again, so I'm going to put Gibson in. And the first time it happened, Gibson fumbled right away. And so they were like, okay, so I guess they both fumble, and he went back to Rhamondre. In this game, Gibson ended up getting hurt. What I found the most disconcerting about all of it was that when Rhamondre was clearly not going to be trusted to touch the ball again this game, he appeared only in passing situations to be there in pass protection, and he did so because Travion Henderson is unusable in those spots right now, or doesn't have the trust of the.
It's not that bad anymore. It's not that bad.
Doesn't have the trust of the team yet to be used, and when he is in there, he's not doing anything yet where you're like, oh my God, more of that, please. And so that's the thing that I think people at home are like, so you spend early draft capital on a guy who's supposed to be a home run hitter, an explosive playmaker, and all I got is a 13-yard pitch, and run to the outside. Like, when am I going to see it? If he's still working through some issues to be able to keep himself on the field consistently, when are you going to see some pop? Or is it just not something that's possible with the way that this team is constructed right now and the way that they're blocking for the running game?
The blocking is a big part of it because Travion Henderson is a space player. Like, you want him in space so that hopefully nobody touches him and he can just run in a straight line and get to the end zone. So I think the run blocking is part of it. It's not like he's got these huge lanes that he's able to exploit. But also part of it is like on screens where he is in space, maybe more confined than you'd like, because screens are so much tougher to run since you can't cut block. But sometimes he doesn't follow his blockers very well. And again, this will be a game where I need to see if he did make any level of growth. But like, he's a young player, and I understand you spend a second-round pick, you want the guy to contribute immediately, especially when he's popping off in the preseason. He looks like your most explosive player. The whole summer, I was saying, like, he's their best deep receiver, and he was. He was the only guy that it seemed like they were scheming for with any level of consistency, and Drakeman was really airing it out. But when you actually get to the reality of playing in an NFL game, things aren't that easy. The game is faster. Players are smarter than you because they've been doing this a lot longer, and there's not a whole lot you can do that's really going to throw them off. And also, we know that Josh McDaniels has not unloaded the clip yet. Like, we've seen the sprinkles and game plans where it's like, oh, like they're building things, and you see, the level of growth within this offense. So hopefully, as Travion continues to develop and become more trustworthy, then we start to see more of, Josh McDaniels really cooking and trying to get him involved. But, it's, again, the running back position is just really tough for this team right now.
It is. And again,
as talented as they are.
Yeah, you want to see that talent, so you feel a little bit better about the pick. And I think people would feel a lot better if it was like, well, the blocking's been terrible, so nobody can run here. But you're seeing a lot of rookie running backs drafted all over the place, making contributions this year.
Genty was getting dragged for like 3 or 4 weeks.
He was, but I'm talking, Jukins, Judkins ended up going before. But I'm even talking about Krosky Merritt. I'm talking about, Scadaboo. Hampton again went earlier, so it's not crazy. But they're playing and they're like starting and they're doing what they're supposed to do. And Henderson's not on a team where is kind of weapons challenged. So again, you would figure they'd be desperately trying to find ways to get him on the field just to open up more play making. It's a little bit disappointing at this point in time that he hasn't gotten there. That being said, Rhamondre's not going anywhere based on this running back situation. So that's what we're going to have. Moving off of that, Taylor, other things, I think it's worth talking about the defense. How did you think they did overall? Because again, you're looking at 8 penalties and 2 turnovers for the Bills in the first half. So they shot themselves in the foot a bit, but you still saw some really good elements. Christian Gonzalez in coverage starting to look like Christian Gonzalez again. And the front set, the front four, being difficult to deal with. You're seeing Milton Williams being consistently disruptive. Barmore, they weren't getting a lot off the edges at the beginning of the game there, but they were definitely they've got some juice there. They got some beef up front, and they can be disruptive. I mean, they held James Cook in check. They did some things well. Your overall thoughts on the defense?
The defensive tackles were not happy in the locker room because the Bills' offensive line was treating this like a street fight. And I think we all saw Christian Barmore got held like 3 times in a row on the Bills' first drive, and that didn't really stop. Like, they were dragging these guys down. They were committing some pretty blatant penalties throughout the game against Milton Williams and Christian Barmore that weren't getting called consistently. And for Barmore, that's been 2 weeks in a row. And he is not happy with the fact that, like, he's getting abused in the trenches and he's not getting flags for it. So those 2 guys have been fantastic and even better than the stat sheet shows because they are getting mauled because offensive lines know that they are so problematic, which also creates opportunities for other people. Like you saw Harold Landry comes in on the twist because no one's paying attention to anybody on the inside because they're all worried about Williams and Christian Barmore because they're all lined up to the same side. Harold Landry unblocked up the middle, spooks Josh Allen, then he ends up running right into Jalen Hawkins and Milton Williams. So, like, even when they're not making the actual plays, they were still creating opportunities. So this defensive tackle tandem is worth every single penny. And Harold Landry, while he's not like a consistent playmaker, like down in and down out like those guys, he's still very opportunistic, and you see him every week. Also want to give a lot of love to these linebackers. Jack Gibbons had the play where he, pushed James Cook out of bounds. That wasn't great. Robert Spillane was able to chase down Josh Allen multiple times, which I was kind of worried about. I didn't know how exactly that was going to go, but I was really impressed with his ability to do that and corral him when he had opportunities. Christian Ellis didn't have any egregious mistakes, and we got to give the guy credit if we're going to, talk about him when he has bad games and when he gets benched or when he ends up in a rotation. I thought he did pretty well today. So good game from those guys. The cornerback room, Christian Gonzalez had a couple downfield throws that he gave up. I'm not sure whether he was in man or what it was. I'm going to have to go back and look, but he made plays when they matter. 2 consecutive plays where he helped force incompletions, both on scrambles from Josh Allen, where he does that damn thing he does, where he gets all the way to the sideline, waits for somebody who's desperately chasing him to get close, then just sidesteps them and has all this space to work with. And you're terrified that somebody didn't plaster. Not Christian Gonzalez. He did a very good job, was able to stay with Keon Coleman in the back of the end zone, and then showed excellent closing speed to break up a pass to Khalil Shakir. I know some people wanted a penalty there, but he's looking at the ball and he made a play on the ball, so it's not pass interference. So stop complaining about it. But Christian Gonzalez, this was the kind of performance I think you really wanted to see from him. Obviously, after coming off missing so many games with a hamstring, missing so much time with the hamstring, making some plays for them. Marcus Jones had to run stuff. He was pretty solid overall. I'd like to see better from the safeties, I will say. Jalen Hawkins did struggle against Dalton Kincaid. Oh, that's the most annoying pair of tight end names in the NFL. They are spelled way too similar, and it mixes up in my head. But obviously, Kincaid did have his level of success, but I'll look in the tape and see if that's anything that could be corrected by scheme or whether that was, just Dalton Kincaid being a playmaker, because he is one of the better receiving threats at that position in the NFL. So overall, still things to fix. Some of the defensive backs are getting penalties. Penalties overall, at some point, you got to nip them in the bud. I know that Mike Vrabel doesn't think they're all made equal. They've also gotten some brutal officiating crews. Some of the penalties they've gotten the past few weeks are just dumb. Not because of the players, because I don't know what the refs are seeing. But also, you have Harold Landry lining up in the neutral zone. You have Carlton Davis getting his hands in people's faces. Was that this week or last week? Somebody got their hands in somebody's face. So these penalties do matter because you were still in a position where you could have potentially lost the game.
If they lose this game, the story of the game is the dumb penalties that they pissed it away. We're not talking about it because they won, but that was it. That was the story. The driving Allen to the ground, the late hit on Cook after you made a great play to tackle him in the backfield for a loss, which could have flipped, which could have gotten you the ball back. And
that
instead,
Jack Givens shove out of bounds was just kind of like
Givens
out
shove.
of nowhere. Yeah.
I told Jalen Hawkins, I was like, dude, one of these days, you're going to get a pick and it's going to stick. Because that's the second or third time he's gotten a turnover that didn't count. I feel so bad for the guy.
Yeah.
So that would have been the story. So yeah, I mean, you can minimize him if you want, but yes, it is still bad. And again, it was the story of the first half for the Bills, committing all of these uncharacteristic penalties themselves. You just can't do that. So they gotta cut that out. Let's talk about our guy, Borregales, Andy, as Mike likes to call him. Again, a little bit of talk that Pats took the wrong guy, and he looked a little bit shaky. He hit from 52. It looks like it could have been 72. He really hammered that one home. People were questioning the way the Patriots played that clock out late. I have no problem with it at all, and it's not just because Borregales made the kick. I think people don't like when you play for the long field goal, but I think the objective there, Taylor, was don't give the ball back to Josh Allen with any real time. Yeah.
When you saw them come out with a fullback, it's like, okay, yes, their intentions here are very obvious. They're just trying to get rid of as much clock as possible. I didn't really have a problem with it, but very impressed by Andy Borregales. So one of the biggest things we heard about him coming out of the draft was that he's a guy who can face adversity, but he'll come back. And I think that was in Miami. Like, he missed one long field goal early in the season. I don't think he missed after that. And that was what game was it specifically? Was it Miami, or what was the game where he missed the field goal that really hurt them? No, they didn't. They won in Miami. Does anybody remember?
It was the first game. It was Oakland or Las
Vegas. Okay, yeah. So you saw it, and then you got the questions of should they have taken him? Is it their guy, like you said, John? And he was nails today. He's been nails pretty consistently since then. Obviously, he hasn't been perfect, but for a rookie, and like when you go up and talk to him in the locker room, it's not a guy who really seems like he gets rattled. Like, he does have a confidence and a swagger about him. And Mike Vrabel said you can see the way he kicks the field goals, and in his swing, you can tell when he's confident. Also credited Jeremy Springer and Tom Quinn for their roles in helping, but all credit to the rookie kicker, man. Like, this environment was crazy. It was awesome. The Patriots were able to silence everybody for a while, but when Borregales kicked that field goal, it was loud. The stadium was rocking. They had the towels going and everything. And he ended up saying, well, actually, I kind of like when they yell because I kicked to like the cadence of the crowd noise or something like that. And then he freaking nails the thing. So another very encouraging sign for a young player on this team who faced some adversity. Maybe there were some questions about him. Still a very long season to go, of course. But like, this ain't Chad Ryland Chad Ryland 2.0. Not Chad Ryland. It's been a long day, but it's not Chad Ryland 2.0. Yeah. Glad he's doing his thing in Arizona, but also it's nice that you have this young kicker who's already showing a return on the investment that you made.
Borregales did miss a kick against Vegas, and then he also missed 2 extra points against Miami in that.
The extra points.
That was what I was thinking of.
Rough.
Yeah.
The extra points were rough start there. So we're going to wrap it up. We've been talking for a little bit here. I do want to point out Patriots schedule is very favorable.
Wait. I'm sorry. One more. Since we were doing special teams. I'm sorry. One last thing. Bryce Behringer, great day from him as well. If we were going to do special teams, we got to give credit where it's due. Dude was booting it and really affecting field position in this game. Yeah. Like, obviously he had the touchback, but that completely flipped the field.
But the 70-yarder, yeah, exactly. You flipped the field there.
Exactly. Yeah. So I'm sorry. I just wanted to give Bryce Behringer his flowers as well. He had a great game too.
Let's give everyone gets flowers tonight. Borregales got a game ball, by the way. So did Stefon Diggs. Mike Vrabel will not give Drake Maye a game ball. That's going to be my story tomorrow.
Only in private. Yeah. Just sneak it to him on the way out.
That's my story. Again, things looking good for the Patriots. Next couple of games are very, very winnable. I mean, so many games on the schedule are winnable here. So all of a sudden, you're starting to look at 5-2, 6. You're looking at now. You're after a performance like this. Can we raise the level of expectation for this team? Because before it was they could beat all of these teams, but my argument was always all of those teams are looking at the Patriots thinking that's a W on their schedule too. It's not like the Saints when they got the schedule at the beginning of the year, they're like, oh shit, the Patriots, we're never winning that one. There's a bunch of Taylor Kyles there that had the Saints going 13 and whatever 4. There's a Taylor Kyles in New Orleans.
You beat the Bills in Buffalo, you can go 13-4.
I know.
I'm going to give that one to Taylor.
W's. But does this raise the level of expectation, Taylor, where you're like, this was a bad? They should smoke this because You smoked the Panthers. You're supposed to smoke the Panthers. You just went in and upset the Bills. These are the things that, like, dare I say, good teams do. You beat the crap out of bad ones, and you compete against really good ones, or beat them. Now is it? Oh shit! Oh well, now we're expecting you to win.
I mean, that really was mine. Obviously, the notorious 13 winnable games prediction that I said I thought they would win 11, but I thought there were 13 that were winnable. And now, I mean, I think it's about the same expectation for me. I was kind of worried at the end of the summer, like Mike, they were inconsistent.
They were.
And I think it would have been disingenuous for me to act like I still felt fine when I was watching them try to do 2-minute drills and it wasn't working and Drake was missing pretty badly. And I'm just like, maybe there is a level to, Drake just getting comfortable in a new system that's going to have some ripple effects, and we just may have to deal with it for a while. But now you're starting to see them improve, and we still have to acknowledge the penalties are a problem. There are positions where they are beating themselves, but you're about to play a gamut of bad teams who are going to beat themselves as well. So yeah, I don't know. Blowouts every week are necessarily fair, but I think we should be comfortable wins.
A quick timeout, Taylor. I'm sorry, because earlier you were kind of saying you felt bad about Gibson, and how hard he worked and all of that stuff. And there's a bit of this going on in the thread. I just want to address it. He didn't even get hit that hard, blah, blah, blah. So all video shows that his right knee buckled inwards prior to the contact. So he didn't get hit that hard. That is correct. But the injury that everybody and all of the, the orthopedic Twitter doctors that are out there when they're analyzing the injury are saying almost certain ACL, if not ACL and MCL mechanism on the injury there. So he popped the knee in a non-contact way, then got hit afterwards, which happens, a lot. And it wasn't the hit, it was what preceded it. So it wasn't because he was soft. He looked like he blew out his knee planting with that right foot, which is really.
I also love someone to tell Antonio Gibson to his face he's soft. I mean, he's 6'3" and like 235 pounds. There's nothing about his play style that is soft. So just I'm not saying you were saying it, but if anybody's in the comments throwing that around there, be careful.
Yeah, one of the next comments I'm pulling it up was, "Oh, please go away," and I agree. Let's.
No. Like I said, I don't. Exactly. I'm not calling out a particular viewer, but. Just wanted to point out, because a few people were questioning, even the ones who didn't say soft were like, it didn't look like he got hit hard. I didn't understand what happened there. He didn't really. He didn't. It wasn't that he got hit hard. He tore his ACL probably right before that, which is unfortunate. All right, that's it. I think we are going to wrap it, unless Taylor, I left something out that you want to talk about. We didn't get to Marcus Jones. I feel like you wanted to talk about him for sure, but you don't have to.
He had a physical run stop. That was the biggest thing that stood out for me. He had another play, didn't he? Oh, the Keon Coleman fade.
Break up on Keon Coleman. Yep.
That was one that Carlton Davis gave up. So yeah, give credit to him, because that is a mismatch every time, and he played that perfectly. So yeah, good stuff from Marcus Jones as well.
Yeah, very good. Programming notes, check these guys out. Patriots Daily, when Taylor gets in on some film there. He's got a long road back from Buffalo, but there will be Patriots coverage on the site. Subscribe to this channel if you're a first-time viewer here, and it could be because it's a good number in here right now. Maybe some of you are checking us out for the first time. It's Patriots Press Pass YouTube. We're CLNS Media. You can get all of our stuff here, so please subscribe to the. Is this the right one? No, that's Bedard. Subscribe to. Give it to me, Bailey. Give it to me, Bailey.
I got you.
Patriots Daily.
Oh, that's Patriots Daily podcast. Yeah.
It doesn't matter. Support us in general. Follow all of the socials. You'll know when we go live. We go live a lot with a lot of our podcasts. It's not just Taylor and Mike. You got Patriots Beat with Alex Barth and Brian Hines. You got the Greg Bedard Patriots podcast, which we did earlier tonight. That hits multiple times a week. Mike Giardi, also down in Buffalo with his All 32 podcast. Andrew Callahan, also down in Buffalo with Pat's Interference. Best Patriots coverage in town, hands down, is here. And there will be a lot more tomorrow. And we're just going to be basking in it all day. You know what everyone likes to do? You know what I like to do on these days? I like to get up and I like to watch all the national media tomorrow.
Oh, yeah.
That's going to be that's going to be great. Like, fine.
Are you going to be in the MVP conversation yet?
He's clearly in the MVP conversation right now. That's the crazy
We said
thing.
it, Mike. We said it last week.
We said it last week. You win in Buffalo, you're an MVP talk.
It's not even hyperbole at this point.
It's not.
But what's funny is it's going to get ridiculous. It's going to.
Oh, yeah.
I'm telling you, Drake Maye, Yeah, it's gonna get so nuts.
I'm gonna end up looking like the negative one, I bet.
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
People are gonna hype this too much. I'm gonna be like, wait, hold on.
We are gonna have to pump the brakes on it. That's what's gonna piss me off about it, because we've been ringing this bell for a while. But anyway, we thank you guys again for hanging out. I always forget. Do I have a post-show closer and outro?
Post-outro, yeah, post-outro. I see it.
I do. I'm gonna say goodbye. Thank you to Taylor. Super long day. Thank you to Mike again. Stayed up super late for this one because we were all geeked up. We wanted to talk about it. Patriots defeat the Buffalo Bills. 23-20 signature moment for Drake Maye. One of the best Patriots games in years. Really great vibes all around. Thank you guys for joining us in the stream, and we'll see you all next time.